got my laces tied. My trusty podcast by my side. If you wanna talk fun, it's the place to be. Yeah, it's the drop, D-R-O-P.
Hey, this is Taylor with Believe in the Run, and I'm here today with a special guest, at least special to me, because I've been on his podcast many times for just shoe deep dives. And if you haven't yet checked into any of those on the Borderlands podcast with Josh Rosenthal, I've been loving those conversations, and we're looking forward to having a lot more of those. But the tides are turned a little bit here where I get to interview Josh and get to know him, and hopefully all of us get to as well. But welcome, Josh. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man. Of course, always a pleasure to talk with you. Fun to be on the receiving end, even though I don't mind being on the interviewing side, but it's fun to just kind of sit back and let you ask the questions. And maybe I'm not as much of an expert on anything as you are, but I'll be the one who will be answering the questions.
Well, I think it's probably more of the case of like, I'm an expert of very few things and you're a master of many.
Jack of all, master of none.
Well, I wouldn't even say jack of all. Like, it seems like, especially with the people you know and the many, many circles you have within your life of like, you're really highly regarded and respected, and all of the circles and people that I've, people have reached out to me who know you, and because we've been doing some conversations together, and just say how great of a guy you are. And it's been in like the coffee circle, the restaurant circle, the running circle. Yeah. And so you've had a lifetime worth of experiences in a very short life that you've lived so far. But I like to start at the beginning with these profiles because obviously the common thread that runs through us all on this podcast is running. But it doesn't always necessarily start there, but we kind of end up in running and kind of go that course. So where does running kind of fall into your life, or where would you start in terms of connecting all those pieces of the puzzle for you?
Gosh, it's such a great question. I haven't thought about it outside of the context of having a business in the running world like Borderlands. You know, to me, running came into my consciousness. Like, I remember being, living in West Texas, college, freshman year. I was going to South Plains College, a little bluegrass music school in West Texas. And I remember running around the park there, and like we were trying to do a mile, 2 miles. Like I was coming out of a life as a punk rock music kid. And, mile, 2 miles was like, oh my gosh, like what's that guy out there doing? In West Texas, there's not even like sidewalks. And you sure as heck better not be wearing like short running shorts out there. The cowboys driving by. So, like we're wearing these, long before Courtney was probably running, we were wearing, Courtney's running shorts, down basketball shorts past our knees. And a mile to 2 miles felt like we were doing something big. And, and the truth is that we were, because we were coming from nothing and we were just starting to kind of feel out running. And then I moved to Salt Lake City, and I was doing music there at a church, and I just really loved the guy that was in charge there and just wanted to be like him. And the only way to get one-on-one time with him was to go running. He would make you go running with him because he's like, hey, I don't have a lot of spare time. If you want to run with me, let's go into the mountains. And this was probably before Speed Goat. I don't know what year Speed Goat started, but we'd go to Snowbird, and with this guy Lee, you just run up the gut of Snowbird, and just then you take the tram down because you don't have time for downhill. You only want to do the uphill. So running just to me was at first this way of like the first thing was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. It's a good feeling, like to do something that feels hard and to run that 1.5 miles, 2 miles. And then all of a sudden I'm running the steepest mountain, in the Western United States with a guy that I just wanted to be like. And so to me, it was just so deeply connected to formation, like being formed.
Yeah. And just knowing your story a little bit of like, even geographically, where you grew up in Texas to where you learned to love running in Utah, of like, those are so vastly different. And like in terms of community, so vastly different. And like, is there some sense of like, your life was also vastly different those?
Ooh,
Like, is that somewhat of a mirror, would you say?
man, we'll call you Dr. Phil here because yeah, I mean you're exactly right. I was trying to find something new. I just needed something new. My parents had just divorced. This was 2001, 2002, and I hated West Texas. I just absolutely hated it. Um, and what's funny is I miss it, and I would love to live there again someday. Now, 25 years later, 24 years later, at the time, it was just like I hated it. I resented it. I shared in common like some faith related things with West Texas, but the way that I lived and who I was and all of that wasn't. It was just hard. And I went to Salt Lake, and it was like for the first time, I felt like I'd been breathing through a straw my whole life on the flat plains of West Texas, and then all of a sudden, I just felt like I was breathing with my full lungs in Salt Lake City.
Mhm.
And
You
it
had
was the
to.
people
You
that were
had to.
there. Yeah, yeah. You need at that altitude and that much climbing, you needed more lung.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's just such a life giving place. And even though I wasn't, like the average person in Salt Lake City, the dominant religion there, all that sort of stuff, like I just felt like so accepted. Everything about it was just so life
Hmm.
giving to me. And yeah, so I went from never running in West Texas, smoking some cigarettes every now and then, to in Utah. I just started to become obsessed with running.
I I've kind of recognized this in both of us, but hearing you say it again in our conversation, I'm just like feeling some heartstrings being tugged because I was that
Yeah,
rural kid too. And the way you described
yeah,
it as like sucking through a straw, it just wasn't giving you the life you needed. And I
yeah,
felt the exact same way when I moved
yeah.
out of rural Minnesota into the
Mm.
mountains of Colorado of like I'd
Yeah,
never
yeah. You did the same
been
thing.
yeah, I'd never been in a geographic place that just spoke to my soul quite like it. And I
Yes,
don't know how
yes.
exactly that all occurs and happens. It was more
Hmm.
than just the awestruck. And
Yeah,
so like yeah, it really fed who I was and continued into investing in community and the
yeah,
sport and activity in the broader picture of that. So
yeah.
I guess I'm just relating in that. But
Gosh,
I mean, growing up as
100%
a
agree.
rural kid, like where in West Texas? I'm sure there's going to be some people who know exactly where.
Yeah, so Lubbock, Texas, which is the biggest city in West Texas, it's 240,000 people, but it's a very big small town. So it has all of the dynamics of a small town. If you ever saw Friday
Hmm.
Night Lights, it took place about an hour and a half south of us. The accents and everything, you could all, Buddy Garrity was from Lubbock, went to Texas Tech. Like Friday Night Lights was a perfect representation of West Texas. And if you didn't play football, I was a mega football fan. I didn't play
Okay.
football. My
Yeah.
best friends played football, but if you didn't,
You had to
you
be.
just there just wasn't a spot for you, in
Yeah.
the so yeah, so it was a big small town right in between Amarillo, which more people know even though it's smaller, and Midland, Odessa, which tends to
Okay.
be like Taylor Sheridan country, the guy who wrote Yellowstone, Landman, all these sort of Friday Night Lights, everything sort of romanticizes West Texas. Usually that's Odessa, Midland, just south of me.
So this is just plains country, wide
Oh
open
yes.
skies. A tree would be a novelty type Texas.
Yes, when people would go across West Texas before there were actual cities, they called it the staked plains because you had to leave stakes in the ground because there were no trees, there were no mountains, there were no hills to help you navigate naturally. So you had to use stakes. So they called it the staked plains. So you had to follow your stakes, and if you wanted to get back home, you had to pull the stakes up in order to get back home.
Oh, jeez.
I
No
know.
wonder why Explosions in the Sky was set the
Hmm.
set soundtrack
Yes,
for
that's
all of
right. So
Friday
they're
Night
from
Lights.
Midland. They claim Austin, even though like 4/5 of them are from Midland, Texas.
Oh,
But if I were
really?
them, I probably would claim Austin instead. But yes, that's the reason they're the soundtrack of Friday Night Lights is
Man.
because they are from Midland. That is the sound of Midland and Big Skies.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just like here some of their songs are just like ringing as like my mind is panning the
Oh, dude,
grasslands.
it's so
And
good.
so like in some ways, I know like in Friday Night Lights, obviously it's romanticized, but like you say you would love to go back there and live and like what would pull you back to a place like that? Like I love going home to the Midwest. It's mostly for family reasons. Of course, I love seeing
Yeah.
Minnesota and there is a really certain pull to the small town that formed you, for sure. But
Yes.
like,
Yes.
if something like Utah so geographically spoke to you in so many different ways, like why would you want to go back to
Yeah.
Texas?
Okay. So if you, as we said, I'm in Copenhagen. I have wife, 3 kids. We love to travel. We live in France, but we're in Copenhagen for the summer. Um, and then before that, 22 years in Salt Lake City. And when I left Lubbock, all the reasons that I hated it, it's too simple. It's there's a lot of things about it that, as I've gotten distance from it, in terms of simplicity, there's a certain simplicity to it, and most people would hate it unless you're from there. And so I just think that there's some element of, no matter how challenging something was, if it's something that shaped you and formed you and it's at the foundation of who you are, there's always a draw to go back there. And I don't know
Hmm.
that I'm not saying that that's necessarily good, but there's a familiarity with it. Like, my life feels a little bit chaotic with our traveling. We're trying to run businesses that are in America. There's a chaos. And so I think sometimes my romanticizing Lubbock is a romanticizing of going back to a kid who had really good friends in 10th grade. And that feels nice. And I would love for my kids to have, I don't know that, I don't see it happen as many other places, like the lifelong friendships that I have from Lubbock. There was nothing to do in Lubbock. So we had to learn how to talk to each other. We just sat around and talked. That was our Friday night. We would talk. Maybe we'd be in a car going up and down the main drag, but we would just be talking. And so we learned how to talk. And I romanticize all that. And I want some of that for my kids. But I think bigger than wanting Lubbock or West Texas is a desire for um, some level of familiarity and simple, and what felt like a simpler, easier time.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, just kind of pulling this into running of like, there's
Mm-hmm.
a community piece, especially in the trail running community, that you're actually like doing some work of pulling together globally with your Wilder app of like,
Yeah.
when you're talking about things like that, of how close knit those relationships are in the community of like, I feel that in the trail running community as an adult, like that's the closest, like church community and trail running community are kind of the closest I've come to those types of friendships. Like I have three
Right. Right.
friends who I would regularly talk to from high school and a couple more from college, but like
Yeah.
the modern day adult version is kind of the trail running community. Would you feel that way too?
I tell you, what I love about trail running is that a lot of a lot of the idealizing of community that maybe we grew up with. If we grew up in going to church, they would always idealize community. To be honest, I found it more, a lot of times, more genuinely expressed in the trail running community that I was a part
Absolutely.
of in terms of just like big, wide open arms, you know, come as you are, be
Yeah.
whoever you are is fine here. Let's just go for a run. However fast you run is fine. If you suck, that's great. If you're slow, I'll see you at the finish line. I'm not going to wait up for you necessarily, especially if we're
Yeah.
racing each other. But there was just, yeah, there was so much of it to me. Like, even when I'm building out language, as I'm here in Copenhagen thinking about big picture for Borderlands, I often catch myself like looking at language of, it's the language of community, and how we're forming Borderlands, and what I want it to be. As I think about, like, how does anyone ever come to love running? How does anyone hear this call to want to run? I can't make somebody hear this, but if someone does, I want to be a part of their story of like jumping into the community, and seeing what it's like, because it is such a beautiful community. And like any community, also, it has elements of chaos. It has elements of
Of
challenge and,
course.
and problems, but there's a familialness to it that I didn't find personally in road running, even though I'm really enjoying road running right now in
Yeah.
Copenhagen.
Hmm.
There's just I still feel like I'm part of the trail running family, even though I'm not even out on the trail very much. It's a really interesting thing. It's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, you live in the epicenter of cities of Europe and Paris, and
I'm
it's
57
still,
feet below sea level right now. Isn't that crazy?
whoa.
So,
Okay.
like, and it's flat. It's Copenhagen is like Lubbock. It's just flat.
Welcome home.
Yeah.
I would like, before we really dive into Borderlands, I feel like we've been kind of
Yeah.
like going around Borderlands a little bit. And I
Yeah.
know we'll have a
Yeah.
lot of conversation on that. But before we do, can you give us just, you're a passionate dude, and that exudes out
Yeah.
of you, of like, it's just who you are, like whatever
Yes.
you're into. Were you a collector as a kid? Like, did he like to collect things?
Dr. Phil strikes again. Yes. Like I can't do anything without like obsessing. So if I got into watches, I had to have tons of watches, baseball cards. I collected the most random. Rafael Palmeiro played first base for the Texas Rangers from like 89 to 94. I had 125 of his baseball cards.
Holy cow.
So, and yeah, I had his rookie card, 1984 rookie card tops from Chicago Cubs. Who collects Rafael Palmeiro? I don't
So
know. So not only
you
was I
you
collector, but I
surpassed
was weird collector.
binders. You surpassed binders. You
Yes.
had totes. You're that
I
guy.
had totes of Rafael Palmeiro
Oh
coming
my
in all
gosh.
sorts of, yeah. Yeah. So
So
yes,
then
absolute collector.
so then obviously that influences who you are because that's just a character thing. It's not just like, oh, I want to be a collector one day or oh, I want to be
Right.
passionate. Like there's something deep down at the DNA level that's happening of
Yeah.
like so then
Yeah. Great
obviously
perspective.
that went into your adult life. So and I
Yes.
know you've been an entrepreneur for a lot of your life of
Yeah.
like where has that part of or I wouldn't say part of your life because it's just life of like where have
Yeah.
you been in those many seasons of entrepreneurship that has led you to being an entrepreneur in the trail running space because there's not many of you around.
Yeah. I just always seen a way forward that I'm not saying is the right way forward. I've seen a way forward that I want to go.
Hmm.
And in as much as like on the most basic rudiment level, so long as I can support myself or my family financially, like I'll go down that path. And even so, even before I had a family, I know we've talked about church a few times. I hope it's not off-putting the way that I am. Just hey, I was a
No,
part of
yeah,
starting a bunch of churches. Started 5 churches in Salt Lake City, so I was always just at the starting of those things because I'm the type of guy that can. There's a book called Zero to One, and I always thought that that wasn't totally accurate. There's a -1 component too. Like, what do you do
okay,
before you even get to zero? And I was just the go-to guy of hey, what do you do before you get to zero? And then how do you get to one? So negative one being like, hey, how do you get the legal stuff together? And what's the like when you think about torque? I'm torque. Like how do you start moving a wheel, any wheel at all, as it relates to business, as it relates to trying to sell something? How do you like go from zero motion at all to turning it? Well, first you got to touch it. So what's everything that leads up to touching the wheel before you turn it? And that's all the stuff that I get
because
really
it's
excited about.
intentional. Yeah.
It's in every second, everything matters. So really excited about that, but also got burnout. I took this test that was like, hey, I was feeling super burnout. I was 10 years into doing stuff like that. And basically the test came back and said, uh, any nonprofit clergy work is the only thing in the world that will burn you out and suffocate you. Get out of it immediately was basically what the test said. And so I went to my boss at the time, who I really loved. I was mostly doing it part time because I was also doing music and traveling a lot, playing music. And I was like, hey, I got to get out of this. It was perfect timing. So I was traveling, doing music. I had started kind of, 3 of the churches were from day one, 2 were like early stage. But the third one, which felt like the final one, I was 2 years into it. And I was just like, I got to jump ship. I'd already started a coffee roasting company that was kind of happening on the side. Still traveling with music. So I was doing those 3 things all at once. Married, didn't have a kid yet. So jumped ship to the coffee roasting company. It was called Charming Beard Coffee. Now it's called La Barba Coffee in Salt Lake City. It's been around since 2012. I sold it in 2020 to my head of operations, who was super awesome. And so then I just started starting stuff. So from 2012 to 2020, we started 13 restaurants in Salt Lake City. So if you've
Whoa.
ever eaten at Salt Lake City, there's a good chance that I've at least been at the strategizing table of it. If not for my restaurant, then for somebody else's. Or my wife was a food writer, a cookbook author, and we wrote a book about Salt Lake City dining. And we went to 60 restaurants in 60 days with a brand new baby who went with us to every single one of those restaurants. So we just have the hustle. And so when the coffee roasting company sort of plateaued and my partners were tired of the excitement of growing, we started 2 bars. We started a bar in Draper, Utah Draper, Utah had never had a bar before. So we had to go to, and it's Mormon. It's just, it's a different set of values. And so
Yep.
it was just a long path to saying, hey, we're good stewards. We're going to run this business well. I have a history of running. I've got a reputation in this community that matters to me. 18 months. And we had to hire a lobbyist. We met with the Speaker of the House for the state of Utah came to a private closed door meeting with us, the mayor. And finally, after 18 months and 18 city council meetings in a row
Oh,
of being present, me or my partners being present and making our case, they finally let us open a bar there. So you can see, like, where does ultra running meet my life? It's like you get this idea and there's this persistence that there's this like a really great excitement that comes with head down persistence, getting it done. And so even though I love the trail running community, a lot of times I'll run by myself because I'm carrying a lot of weight. So I always talk about entrepreneurship is about not about being the busiest person in the room. It's about the person carrying the most weight. And ultra running became a way to shed that weight. So we had the restaurants, and then we almost went bankrupt when COVID hit. Through a miracle, this wild swing, then we started a private equity firm buying real estate, me and a partner. And so we did a lot of transactions, soulless work. There was no
yeah.
passion involved. It was just, I wanted to make money so I could go back into passion work like coffee, food, beverage, all that again. And that was how Borderlands was born. And that's how it was funded. We did the real estate private equity firm. We had some pretty good gains from that. And then all of that has been invested across the last 3 years into Borderlands. And then Borderlands, has like 20,000 things happening underneath it. So you can see like it's a problem. It's to a degree, it's a problem.
I mean, in one sense, yeah, but in my mind, there's so many avenues for growth and avenues for investment. Like, you're doing something that nobody else is doing in the industry, and you're creating a community of what most people would view as competitors, but you're creating community out of it. And is that a common thing that you've done throughout your work in the past too?
So okay. Since we've gone to a deeper soul level on this time, which is a characteristic of trail running, like you do go to those places more quickly than anywhere else. So I mean, I have this deep love for growing something, but I've never liked the zero sum game. I've never liked the idea of, in order for Borderlands to grow, this entity needs to shrink.
Mm-hmm.
It's true, and I think that's what happens in a market. A deregulated or less regulated or unregulated market, growth happens that way. I've built a better thing than this person has built, and so my thing will grow. I loathe that because I know what it's like. I mean, of the last 15 years, 1 out of every 2 nights I'm losing sleep over something I'm building. And the last thing I ever want to do is be the source of another entrepreneur losing sleep over me taking market share from them, which, is a real lame entrepreneurial thing. I taught a class on entrepreneurship at the University of Utah. I'm supposed to be this awesome entrepreneur who's cutthroat and knows how to grow, but I don't want to grow at someone else's expense. And so where you'll always see me building, and this is a flaw. I'm like, even like journaling as I'm working through this new business plan for Borderlands, it's like, hey, you got to play the zero sum game sometimes. Not out of cruelty, but that's just the way that it goes. In fact, the end user, the customers, the runners will benefit from a zero sum game because it means maybe we'll get something better. So you've got to flip a switch and play it sometimes. But in the end, you'll always see me out in left field in the prairie building something that everyone who's over here like competing with each other, and I admire them and I wish I could be them. They're all over there looking, be like, what the hell is that guy doing out there? And I'm basically just like, I don't know. It looked like I'm high, running in circles, doing whatever. And then eventually, ideally,
You'll whip your lasso out. Yeah.
Yes. And then all of a sudden it comes together and it's like, look, guys, this is what I've been trying to build. But, maybe it looks like a little, like the Sandlot, like a duct taped whatever. Yeah. So that's a snapshot of it.
I feel like it's such a refreshing take on, entrepreneurship, but also like in the media world where everybody's competing for someone's 2 seconds worth of eyes. And what you're doing in my mind is you are pulling people for a longer gaze. And so like, it always comes back down to community, doesn't it? Like in your mind, like you're building this not just for yourself, you're building this out of the benefit of the trail running community at large.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to make money, of course. So there is some of that strategic play of the zero sum game, like you said, but it's at out of the community at large. And that's why, like, man, it is so refreshing that you are doing this with Borderlands.
Well, thanks. I mean, it's nice. I'm an introvert and I work on my own and I journal a ton and then I go to the computer and then I flesh it all out and then I release it. And I think the hardest part, even though I have some partners on different things within Borderlands, I think the hardest part of that is sometimes is to get a good barometer of like, hey, is it right? Like, is what you're doing? Are you headed in the right direction? But I just appreciate you seeing that because I want to build community, and I think building a business that cultivates community is a good use of building a business. Like, if you're going to bring all the principles
Hmm.
together, and then the outcome is this thing that people are enjoying, and it's connecting them with each other, and the entrepreneurs making money, and the people are connecting with one another. That's a really great expression. Not that any given
Yeah.
media isn't. All
Yeah.
media can be that, but that if what you're cultivating is something that gives people meaning and belonging, like, man, what an honor.
Yeah. Absolutely. And just from like, just the broader perspective of like believe in the run. Our lane has always been gear. We are so gear
Yep.
focused, and the way we're able to have honest reviews, hopefully some entertaining media around it, great visuals, and that's what ends up bringing people together. But we have a lane,
Yep.
and with
Yep.
Borderlands, you have kind of lots of different lanes
Yep.
in that lead to, like, you've been using me as professional, you've been using some others as professional, and you're pulling all these
Yes.
professionals from their sphere and combining everyone's expertise to, again, eventually promote community. But like,
Yep.
can you give just like the 30,000 foot view of what is Borderlands? We've been talking about
Yeah.
Borderlands, of course,
Okay.
but what is Borderlands?
So at the highest level, the mission is to be the heart of trail running. So the idea is that there's so many amazing companies that I'm a consumer of that are nailing performance. This is the performance of trail running. And so performance is out front. How well are they doing? How was the race run? How many carbs did they consume? All that sort of stuff. That's out front. And then heart comes behind it. And like we talk, and then they talk about, Caleb Olson, tell me about that amazing run, but that ACG shirt, all the sort of stuff that circles it. And what I just want to lead first with, and everything that I do at Borderlands, is the heart. Like, what's the stuff that gives us the good feelings? The stuff that when we
Hmm.
hear it, that shiver down your spine, or the hair on the end sitting up. Like, there, that trail running is among the best places in the world to find that. So at the highest level, I think it's about being the heart of trail running. And then beneath that, it's like, okay, what are all the things that I can do to be that heart, to support that mission? So we have a mobile app called Wilder. It's coming together. We're in version 2.0 on it. The idea is that if you're looking for a run club, that would be the place to find one. If you manage a run club, then it would be a place to be on there, and it gives you tools. We're in the process of bringing a 3.0 together, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 months, where run clubs can compete with themselves, like who can go the furthest, who can go the fastest, stuff like that. Just a fun way to like gamify your run club, and
Yeah.
then run club managers could monetize and make a little
Yeah.
money off of their community they're building.
And just as a consumer of that app, I found it very helpful also to be like free ourselves from all the other places you would communicate, being
Yeah.
centrally located and not tied to some of the uh, bad things with other social media areas. Let's just say it
Yeah.
that way. Of like, I really appreciate it
Yeah.
because we have our own Estes Valley Trail Runners Club here. I'm the
Oh, that's awesome.
moderator. We can tell, you know, this, and this. This is where it's happening.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is our
Yeah.
ideal. People can check in. Like, it's a great little app. It's like, I mean,
Well, thanks.
Strava should
Yeah,
have
and
done
you
this
should
a long time ago,
update your app.
but
We
here
just
you
released a
are.
good. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, we had a delay there. Say that again. I apologize for
I was
talking over you.
saying, this is something that Strava should have done years ago,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
here you are.
Yeah. And hopefully we can do a really good job with it. And
Yeah.
we've released some new tools. Update your app. Two great. I mean, I have two equity partners on that, and that's Sam DeRegger and Tim Walzer. So I bring people in. I'm not a product guy. I'm not a tech guy. Sam's a world class product guy. Tim's a world class developer, and so they're plugging away and they're making great progress on the app. And so we have the app world that we do. We have Salt Lake City events that I do with two other equity partners, Joey and Jared, some of my oldest and bestest friends. One moved with me from Lubbock to Salt Lake in '02. And the idea of that is just, we love Salt Lake and we want to show it off. There's a lot of people out there who are like that in the trail world, like Finn, at Single Track, a lot of people championing Salt Lake. We're just another voice doing that. All right. So we're doing races in Salt Lake City. We're going to probably add another one in the next year. But for now we have the 10K, half marathon and 50K. And it's really about putting Salt Lake City on display. The most loved trail in Salt Lake City, in Salt Lake County. We're the first people to ever get permitted to have a race on those trails. And so we love that.
And just to
go ahead.
pause on that a little bit, and you do some unique stuff. Like I've worked with, co-directed, and some of our races are really niche in the way we put them on. And you do that too. Like there's some interesting things about your races in the Salt Lake City area. Could you highlight some of those? Because it would be the best if we had people showing up from Believe in the Run to run Borderlands races.
I would love that. Okay, so our goal was to never focus on elite runners. This is why this is really funny and somewhat calls me out to be a hypocrite. So on my podcast, we're pushing hard for places like Western States to pay prize money. If you're having the elites come out, then if you're marketing the elites and your race is elevating because of the elites, then prize money. Well, we don't have prize money at our race, and I've been saying that publicly. We came out with, for a 50K, our opening price was $90. Our goal was to be, a bit value. So we were less than half of maybe the average, maybe around half the average 50K.
And sometimes a third of the price.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
But we ended up getting some awesome partners. So here we are, like we have these value prices. And so the idea was just fun, lighthearted. At one point we used to joke, like, if you win our race, you're never allowed to come back because this is not a place for winners. This is for losers.
Yeah.
Again, just tongue in cheek, funny, having fun, being silly. Then we get Path Projects on board and Naked Sports Innovations. And then we just get tons of sponsors that just come in and join us. And I love working with brands. I understand the entrepreneur. And so we work together and we put on a great race. And then all of a sudden, 10 days before the race, Caleb Olson, Ryan Montgomery, local legend, Adam Loomis, all jump in the race within 10 days. And I was like, oh my God, I don't pay prize money. There's a Michael Bolton final mile on our race. The final mile of the race is all about blasting Michael Bolton as loud as possible. And we crown the winner. At one point, the winner of the race was whoever ran the final mile the fastest. There's Michael Bolton flags lining the final mile. It's net downhill by like 500 feet. And it's just meant to be silly and fun and a celebration of running. And then the guy who won Western States ran our race and was like, oh my God, we can't be. And Billy Yang comes in, he's at our finish line the whole time, like putting on a clinic. That dude loves runners, putting on a clinic for like how to take care of every runner that comes across the finish line. And so I'm surrounded. I got Billy Yang, I got Florence Gearman, who's a world-class podcaster and personality, and Caleb and Ryan and Path. And all of a sudden it's like, God, we're jackasses. Like, what are we're just silly kids out here having fun. So the silly fun, it turned out it's a perfect timing 1 month before Western States. And so we just got some people who needed a tune up before Western States.
Yeah.
And we had fun, but we had to to honor that gift of these, speedy guys joining us, we got a little bit more serious, though we still had the Michael Bolton final mile.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to like paint a theme here, but community, it all comes back down to community, right? Of like people will return to that event and probably even some of those elites because of the community oriented aspect. It's not elevating a few percent over the rest. And actually sometimes correct me if I'm wrong, you also honor the last place runners.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're the real, winner. I mean, I have to be careful with it because the golden hour thing sometimes bothers me because I've been a golden hour finisher on several races. I'm like, guys, I know that I did. You're proud of me for getting across here, but come on, it feels a little bit patronizing. But I know how to celebrate last place really well, and to where I'm not putting him on display or humiliating him. So yeah, I mean, everybody gets celebrated. We stay completely set up till the very last runner comes through. I've been at a race where a lot of stuff's torn down by the time you get there. I have a buddy who's finished after everything was torn down. Zero judgment on those race organizations.
Yeah.
I get it. Volunteers, it's a huge pressure to ask a whole bunch of volunteers to stick around when you've got one runner coming in every 30 minutes and there's only 4 more out there. I get that. No judgment, but we stayed up till the very end. And Billy Yang and Path and Flores, to their credit, they wouldn't have had it any other way. They were there to the very end as well.
That's awesome. And again, it feels like it comes down to that heart. Like that's, when I think about like what, obviously it was the running aspect plus the landscape aspect that pulled me into trail running. But once you got plugged into that community too, of like that heart is on the sleeve, no matter where you go in trail running. And man, I just love that. And thank you for your investment into that through Borderlands. But that's not all you do. Like you do the wild wrap, you do the races. There's so much more. Like what else you got going on?
Plenty more. We got high tones now. Like because I live in Paris, I stumbled upon Paris Fashion Week. I know that Believe in the Run sends someone there as well. I didn't realize that it was such a running event, and so then I'm surrounded by it, and I think, I'm living here. I should probably, pay closer attention. And then a dude who lives in Salt Lake, Sam Losey, was like, "Hey, I love this world. Like, can I come join you in covering this world?" And so Sam comes out, and we kind of launched an arm of Borderlands called High Tones. And the idea is just that we're looking at the fashion world, but we're looking at it through the lens of we're runners. So if a fashion brand puts out a silly looking thing and they're marketing it to runners, but it doesn't perform well for runners, like we want to hold that stuff accountable. But also I'm very anti gatekeeping. So, I just want to highlight everything, let everyone else decide. But like, there's some really bizarre stuff that I'll never wear. But man, these people are passionate about running. Like they're super passionate about running. And so it's fun to talk to them.
And let's be honest, of like your entrepreneurial spirit is showing too, because I know you wear that gray shirt a few times a week, maybe just like I do. Like, and here you are at the epicenter of fashion, right?
I have 3 shirts I prided myself when we moved out of Salt Lake and moved to Paris, that everything needed to fit in a small backpack for me. I decision fatigue. I can't be thinking about what I'm going to wear. I've never wanted to think about what I'm wearing. So I've got 1 or 2 plain colored t-shirts. I've got a shirt with my friend Andy with an x-ray of his broken leg on it that I've worn a ton. Get out, get rad. And I brought 1 sleeved running shirt from the year I ran Speed Goat 3 times. One of the years I ran it was this really awesome Patagonia shirt. I was wearing that. I got some Path running gear, Path shorts, very like minimal. I have 1 pair of pants and I wear those every day that there's pants, and I got 1 pair of shorts and I wear it every day that there's a pair of shorts. I love eliminating clothing decision fatigue. And here I am covering like the most avant-garde. But I also said that that's why I'm good for it, because I'm not going to go in there and know that any of these people are special. And so all of a sudden I'm just chatting with them. And it turns out like if I was in that world, I would probably, be nervous. Like it'd be like me being around Anton Kaprichka or Scott Jurek. Like, I don't know what to say. I don't know. I'm just there to cover it. And I'm truly there to celebrate it. And Sam knows all of those people. And so we're a good fit for each other.
Yeah. Yeah. At face value, it seems a little contradictory, but it really is like a perfect fit too, of like, especially when you're opening that world to many others. Like, I'm just thankful that brands send me clothing, because like, I don't even own a pair of jeans, of like, they're the ones responsible for my outfits. Thank you, Solomon, for this nice Courtney DeWalter sweatshirt.
That's awesome.
Of like,
So I bought, this is one of the things I bought, a Stetson hat. So Stetson is a huge, it's a cowboy hat brand, but they have a really great line of like urban stuff here in Copenhagen. And so, it connects me to my Texas roots to wear a Stetson. But other than that, nothing else is of any value, any note to me.
And that's okay.
That's good.
And then like, okay, we have that line. And then you've been doing some stuff with Wolf Runner, and your guys' conversations are sometimes hit a boiling point and meant to be controversial. Would you say that
I would
most of
say
your conversations?
not necessarily that they're meant to be controversial. It's just that we're comfortable talking about things um, that aren't either being talked about or that we just maybe see things a certain way. So we call it Bad
Yeah.
Runner's Take. And it was originally just my thing. It was going to be a monologue type deal because I'm a bad runner and this is my take. But it was supposed to be a double entendre, but it's also a bad take by a runner. So Bad Runner's Take. And then Brian and I became friends. Wolf Runner.
Potentially bad take.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You're putting it out there
Self-deprecating,
as, yeah, potentially.
potentially. And Brian and I became friends, and we had good chemistry, and the episodes did really well. And so we just kept it going. And so we're willing to talk about things. Our primary thing is that we're willing to have the opinion, and we're also willing to change our minds. We will change our minds gladly. We just want to talk about it. And
Yeah.
so we'll hit topics. Again, we don't look for controversy. It's just like, hey, if this is what they're talking about in current events and trail,
Hmm.
we'll talk about that too. And we're just
Yeah.
going to offer sometimes a different take, sometimes our take, sometimes there's a prevailing take, and we'll just say, hey, we actually are in line with the prevailing take. Here's a counterpoint to that maybe represents some other people. And you know what it's like to have an opinion that's different than everybody else.
Hmm.
Sometimes the mob doesn't let you have your opinion. And so we just think, hey, we're going to throw out all these. So the idea is simply, an experiment in expanding and widening who's welcome here. That all viewpoints are welcome. You may have one that's garbage. I may have one that's garbage, and it may not be good or smart to say it. But if we can widen that, like that comes back to the anti-gatekeeping piece. This is really an expression of the
Absolutely.
anti-gatekeeping of like, hey, you don't have to have the same opinion as anyone also to be welcome here. You can be welcome
Hmm.
here regardless of your opinion. Even if I completely disagree, it has its limits, of course. You can't take that all the way to an absurd standpoint. We draw the line in certain places, but everybody's welcome here no matter how you see things.
Yeah. And I think you would say this too of like anybody who has a strong opinion on some of your guys' conversations that you guys are bringing up of like, they're
Mm-hmm.
welcome to share that too if they're up
Yes.
to having the conversation because like with states debates, you guys had Carl Meltzer, you had
Yeah.
AJW, had a bunch of
Yeah.
people on there just talking about theories and ideas, big things
Right.
around Western states, a simple race we really love. And there were some
Yeah.
great conversations that came out of that, but some of that you reached out but some of that, those people also had input that they were willing to share. And so
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
welcome to
Troy
those
Meadows
conversations.
was the most heated one. Troy of the Midpacker Pod,
Yeah.
because we were saying no. Let's double. Let's triple. Let's figure out a way around Granite Chief Wilderness. It's a sacred race. We get it, but what if we still found a way? Is there a way? What could we do to people are on that waiting list for 10 years? So we did the states debates. Brian took the position of what if we could grow this beyond and figure out a way? If they haven't made any changes since 1984 and they haven't
Hmm.
lobbied since 1984, could we lobby again? These are like sacred. So that's a good example of like, we're not hurting anybody here. We're stepping on
No.
toes because some people are in the sacred camp of never change Western states. And there's some other progressive takes that are like, yeah, let's change it and see if we can get it to 1,000 runners. Or so I think that's on
And
your part. It's a good observation.
yeah, and just by presenting it, it's food for thought, right? It's not meant to
That's exactly right.
necessarily change anything, but it's
That's right.
food for thought. And I would argue just on a bigger life level of like, if we have ears to listen, of like, man, we can chew on a lot of different things that challenge our
Yeah.
own
Yeah.
ideas and others. And like conversation is what grows that and develops it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we've
I
got to be
guess,
able to, if we have certain ideas, to feel comfortable talking about. It. If we really have a deep conviction, the idea, and from my perspective, we really have a deep conviction, it should open you up and free you to hear the opposing ideas rather than push them away. And so, that's where we're living, and it's getting good traction. And the last thing I ever wanted, I'm the least. I do not want to be controversial for controversy's sake. Like from a creator standpoint, in terms of making content, there's a rule of thumb, like you don't ever want to go viral for something you don't want to go viral for. And for me personally, I do not, I don't love conflict. And so I don't want to go viral for conflict. I want to go viral for something else. And so we're definitely not stirring the pot just to make it stink. We're really,
Yeah.
there's a method to it. So I do want to go viral if we're going viral for, hey, these guys are thinking different and they're welcoming
Yeah.
other thoughts. I like
Yeah.
that.
Thanks for expanding on that. I didn't necessarily mean to
Yeah.
call you out for
Oh,
being
no.
controversial, but
No,
the
it's good to
take
talk about.
itself lends itself to other conversations of like there's a certain amount of drama within it that prompts
Yes.
others to share their opinion. And
Yes.
like in a sport where like I think most people come to trail running for the lack of drama or like enjoy it for that of like
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to have.
Yeah.
That's our soap opera.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that lack of drama though, it quiets people,
Hmm.
and that's, and again, and we can put a bow on it. The goal is everybody's welcome here.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So then like just kind of starting to wrap up a little bit
Yeah.
of you were saying that you're the -1 to 0 to 1 person.
Yeah.
Where's Borderlands within that spectrum right now in your
Whew.
mind? And
Yeah.
are you committed to taking it to 2, 3, and beyond?
Mm. Okay. Here's the hardest part for being in proximity to me is that there's always going to be something at -1. There's always going to be something at 0, and there's always going to be something at 1.
Does your wife
So,
love that?
um, what she loves is to travel, and she loves our kids and loves adventure. And so,
Mhm.
if me playing at -1, 0, and 1 enables that while our kids are young, and she's focused, she's on a board, she's doing things, but while while we're able to be this nimble and this mobile, she
Mhm.
likes it in as much as we're able to continue to be this mobile and this nimble.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's not something
so
that's going to be changing from you anyways. Again, like I feel
no,
like we've gotten that down. Like that's just who you are.
yeah, yeah. So anytime something gets to 1, okay, I can do anything for 18 months, even if I hate it. So I've done, anytime I get to the 18-month mark, it's never on purpose. I look around and I realize, oh, I am restless here. If it's worth it, I can keep going, but I have to bring people in to help me keep going. I can't do it anymore the way that I've been doing it. So right now, as I'm preparing to go into the next season of Borderlands, there's about 8 or 9 like creators that are leaning into the editorial calendar with me right now. And so the way that I grow beyond is that then I go from -1 to 0 to 1. As soon as something hits sort of 1-ish, I have to bring people in because what makes me great at -1 makes me awful at 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so I have to bring people in.
What is
At
that?
it's I'm a fantastic builder of systems. I'm an awful manager of systems. So the launch point from 1 to 2 is building the systems to set it in motion to get to 10. So I'll build them, set them in motion, and then a gifted manager needs to come in and take those systems that I built and then tweak them for what it takes to truly what a good manager can truly do. So I have to get. I'm at a challenging point because I've got I'm flipping a switch from really heavy emphasis on monetizing right now, and that. So while I don't have I can't pay that person. I've got good people who are around me, but I need as soon as I really am able to monetize and find that lane, that correct monetization lane, then I will bring on a gifted manager operator. That's what I'm an awful operator.
So then where's your vision then for where this is all going? Like if you look 10 if we're doing the 5 to 10 years down the road thing, or
Yep.
let's start 1 year from now. Where do you hope
Perfect.
Borderlands is?
Okay. This is perfect because my philosophy, I'll keep this short. My philosophy is always have a 1-year plan and a 10-year plan, and nothing else matters. So I had lunch with a guy named Fred Mosler. If you ever read Delivering Happiness, about the story of Zappos, which is fitting for this audience,
Okay.
how
Yeah.
Zappos came to be. Fred Mosler wrote one of the chapters of that with Tony Hsieh, who was the founder of Zappos. So I had a one-on-one lunch with Fred Mosler, and I showed up to that lunch because we were thinking, hey, could he invest into La Barba Coffee? And I showed up, and I wasn't wearing a La Barba Coffee branded shirt, and he was like, I would never invest in you. You're not all about your business, and I only invest in people who are all about their business, just like Tony was with Zappos. And it's effectively handed me my ass. I was like, okay, this is great. You're not going to invest now. Just tell me like what made Tony great, and what can I do, on my end? And he said, 1 year plan, 10-year plan. 10 year is a wish. It sets trajectory. 1 year is you can accomplish it. 10 year, you can't. So 1 year right now, I'm trying to grow. I'm in the process of a 1 year plan that I would grow the podcast 10x. That's a proxy metric. I'm trying to grow a ton of stuff, but if the podcast can grow 10x, then a lot of this other stuff is being dragged along. All the stuff that we named, plus some stuff that we didn't. The 10-year plan is that I want to change the way that people in the sport interact with each other, and the way that people then also consume media. So 10 years from now, I want people to say about Borderlands that we have done something in meaningful in how the world of trail running and trail runners interact with each other, how they consume the sport themselves, and how the sport is put on display to the rest of the world.
So then that comes with a lot of risk.
Oh yeah.
Does that risk?
First of which is looking like a dumbass. You can't ever, like, that's the hardest part. I always say, for anyone who's aspiring to be an entrepreneur, the first thing you have to be comfortable with is looking like an absolute idiot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for that words of wisdom. So just from our talk today of like those risks, are they viewed as challenges, or do they induce a little bit of anxiousness in you, or a little bit of both?
Oh no, it's the when I think about the challenge, it's the same feeling that I get, after a reasonably hard run of like whatever chemicals have just fired that make you feel like good. Those are what fire when I really imagine those things. So the idea of leaning in and trying to accomplish it, like my mind, I can, as you've outlined, like I've had a lot of experience with starting businesses, growing businesses, building growth plans, a lot of other stuff that we didn't even talk about. Like I love it. I'm in it. And so where I'm most comfortable is in the mud. Like the 50 miler that I ran here, you recommended the Zagama. I found some Zagama ones for 50% off. It wasn't a perfect day. It was rainy. It was muddy. And like that to me is a perfect example of if I got the right gear, which is, people in my mind and in a good pair of shoes, like I can navigate a muddy 50 miler. And that's almost what I pride myself in is like last time I had a full-time job, 2005, I was fired because my boss basically said, I would never hire you to put together a fire plan. If there's a fire, you're the worst guy to have here. If we need a fire escape plan, you're the worst guy to do. But if there's an actual fire, you're the only person I want in the room. So for me, like this, I'm in the midst of that. And it's like that's where I'm most comfortable. That's where I'm most energized. And that's where I'm at my best.
That's awesome. And like, I think many people get to a point in life and they don't know that about themselves of like, this is how I operate best. Is there a moment in time, or has it just been life where you have found that out about yourself of like how do you come to that sort of state
it's
of being?
It's a constant reconciling of your ambition with your shortcomings. So like one of the greatest tensions, like the fire that burns in the belly, talk about the burning in the belly when you're ambitious. To me, that's the worst part about it. And it's like this burning, like of wanting something so bad. And so the self-awareness comes from like, I want it so bad. And I put something out into the world and I see this in my kids and I'm trying to talk them out of it. But like you put something out in the world and you instantly know that it's garbage. The best movie of all time, one of the best, is Amadeus.
I thought you were going to say Napoleon Dynamite.
One of the best movies out of Northern Utah, Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
Okay. This is my parting answer to your question. Like the final seed here is Solieri was always in Mozart's shadow. And so Salieri could spend his life composing and put all of this effort into composing, and he couldn't compose anything even a fraction as good as Mozart. And there's this moment where Salieri, this was an Oscar-winning movie and incredible soundtrack, was fighting with God in the movie, and he says, "God, why did you make me just talented enough to know that I'll never be as talented as Mozart?" Because the rest of the world could look at him and say, "You're very good. You're very, someone who's not musical." He said, "Here's Salieri, here's Mozart." Like, hey, you guys are both very good. But Salieri always knew what made Mozart exponentially better. And it's because Salieri was so talented, he knew that he would never be as talented as Mozart. And so that's the space that I feel like I live in. I've always felt like Salieri in that I put something out and then I see, oh, Dylan Bowman did this, or, Finn did that. And it has to be this moment of reconciling my ambition with my shortcomings. And if I don't, it's depression. It's an awful, awful, awful route. So I have to say, I did my best. And why did it fall short? And intellectually analyze it and try and separate myself from it. But that is the constant battle of an entrepreneur, is to live in that space, that you're talking about.
And that's what makes you great and crazy all at the same time, I'm sure.
Yeah, they call it the evil master. I've said it a few times lately. Sometimes
man.
your mind just doesn't leave you alone.
Gosh. Sometimes I deal with the opposite of, I wish my mind would poke it a little bit.
Let's meet in the
Okay.
middle.
Yeah, exactly. So then I just want to respect your time. Just kind of in closing of like, what are you looking forward to in this next half of year? Like 2025 is half gone. Like, what are you looking forward to just personally and professionally? Because for the trail running space, like this is now a year-round thing and not just a summer hurrah like it had been, however many years ago, not that long ago. Of like, you got to kind of be pushing the envelope all the time.
Yeah, I'm really excited about going down to UTMB. I'll be back in Paris then, so it'll be
We'll be there. We'll be there too.
You'll be okay. Maybe we'll meet in person.
Yeah, we better. I got a hug for you, I think.
I'm stoked on UTMB. I'm stoked on the Mammoth 200. I'm excited to see that race come together. So I'm excited. I'm just excited about races. I'm just really excited to see how those races unfold.
In Borderlands, I keep saying Borderlands. Borderlands has some conversations going, just like you did around Western states. You have some conversations going on around Mammoth. Do you want to plug that a little bit?
Yeah, we're gonna interview as many elite contenders as possible. 10-minute interviews like we did with Western States. So we'll probably have 6. Got some confirmations: Max Jalif and Rachel Intrican, Corinne Malcolm. They've all confirmed. Nothing ever happens till it happens, but they've said yes, and so we're scheduling those. But gonna try and do that for UTMB, Mammoth, Cocodona, and then every single golden ticket race. We want to see if we can capture all 6 of the golden ticket races leading up to it. I'm not going to do it on the spot because I'll forget some of them, but including, Chianti, the canyons, Black Canyons, all that stuff. So,
because they're worldwide
I'm just
now.
letting myself, yes, yep. And I'm just letting myself love and celebrate the elite side of the sport because I hadn't done that for a long time.
Do you have any races or adventures you have coming up that are fueling your soul?
It's just a matter of like paying the registration fee on some races right now. I think I'm going to do Paris Eco Trail again next year. I really want to do Surmlands in Stockholm in September if I can pull it off. Even the half marathon or the 50K would be awesome. I want to get in a road half marathon because I've just never been this fast. I mean, you might look at my Strava and think that's not fast, but like it's fast for me. I'm moving faster, and so I want to see what's possible on a road half marathon right now. So there's one every weekend in Paris in the fall. So I'm looking at something there.
Yeah.
And I've got I don't have any 200 ambitions, but I do have dreams around getting out there and getting a good 24-hour finish time in a 100-mile or sometime in the next 2 years.
Do you have any ideal courses that would be on?
Well, I think about Texas a lot. So, Rocky Raccoon comes to mind, but it's been such a muddy race the last few years. I don't know if I could handle that. It'd be awesome to pull it off at Buffalo. Just one of the great races in the
I
country.
have a race for you. So
What?
there's just knowing your love for the plains. There's a race called the Cowboy Trail Ultra, and so
Yes.
goes across. Do you know about this?
No, I don't.
There's a 200-mile option, there's a 100-mile option. I think there's a 50-mile option, and it's just all along this pretty much rails trails across the
Okay.
heart of Nebraska. All
Oh,
plains,
okay. This
open
is
sky, and
sounding
you're just
familiar.
running from town to town to town. It's
That's it.
pretty. There's some rolling, of
That's
course,
fun.
but if you're needing that fix of open sky and ranch
That
land and
sounds
plains,
fun.
and you want
Yes.
it sub 24 hour, that might be the one. I'll come out
Tell
and
me
crew
one
you.
more time
That's
what it's
like
called.
Cowboy. I think they call it the Cowboy 200, but they have other distance under it.
That's great. I'm gonna check that out.
I'll come crew you. It's not too far
All
from
right.
here in
I'll
Colorado.
wear my Stetson.
Exactly. People will know. Okay, well, Josh, thank you for your time. I really appreciate
Yeah,
you coming
man.
on, and I'm looking forward to
Absolute
a lot
pleasure.
more conversations this fall of breaking down
Yep.
some brands, some shoes,
Yeah. Way
and
deep
just
dives. Yep.
yeah, been loving those. Okay, well, thank you.
Love it. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate you.
See ya.
Give a good stretch, got my laces tied. My trusty podcast by my side. If you wanna tuck run, it's the place to be. Yeah, it's the